Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Zombie Beach Party, aka Enter Zombie King, aka Zombie King and the Legion of Doom. It's got too many titles.
Directed by Stacey Case, starring Jules Delorme, Jennifer Thom, Raymond Carle, and Rob El Fuego Echeverria. This movie's about a group of luchadors that are set to put on a show, but there's a problem. There's a zombie king. He's also just like an evil luchador. He's not a zombie himself, but he does have a legion of zombies that they need to fight. Because the zombie king is not only looking for a zombie queen, but he's trying to turn the entire world into zombies for an unknown reason.
We will find these murderous undead, and we will destroy them.
Before we get into things, this review is brought to us by Midcard Maniacs, our other channel. We just started it. It's all about wrestling. You can check out and subscribe to Midcard Maniacs, where we're going to be talking about whatever we want that has to do with wrestling. So what do we like?
I absolutely loved that this was a wrestling zombie movie. You can't get enough of wrestling movies out there, and I, for one, thoroughly enjoyed the fact that it was like watching a really bad choreographed backyard wrestling match.
Johnny Fondhill sure knows how to wrestle.
No, a really good choreographed backyard wrestling match.
Right.
The fight scenes were fun. They were doing suplexes. We saw one frog splash.
Reading the Wikipedia, it seems that all of the actors backed out because the wrestlers were supposed to train them, but these are actually all like indie wrestlers.
Minus Beth Phoenix.
Beth Phoenix is in here. Jim the Anvil Neidhart, who's actually the most fucking badass cop I've ever seen in any movie.
So why were you behind the roadhouse and not inside watching the fights like everybody else?
We were going to. We just came outside to
To what?
smoke a joint.
I should have known drugs had something to do with this.
Like, we've watched movies like PMS Cop, which had probably one of the more badass cops we've seen. Obviously, Terminator 2 T-1000 was a great cop. But when you got the Anvil arresting zombies in this fashion, come on.
What the? You're coming with me. Yeah! Throw him in the slabber! Filthy beast!
Also, a personal favorite of mine was Tyson Dukes. He pretty much was the main choreographer, and because they're all luchadors, he just would throw the mask on and do the fighting for them. Also, we forgot to mention one of the bigger, I guess not one of the bigger names, but kind of a big name who's in this. Sin Bodhi, who is the Zombie King, is most notable for his WWE run as Kazarni. The fact that you have like kind of established wrestlers in this indie Canadian horror film, I think it's great.
And the one little bit of trivia on the IMDb for this is that George A. Romero was supposed to play the Zombie King, but then was replaced by a wrestler. I'm calling bullshit on that 100%, but they still put like a Romero Presents on the DVD. We got like some weird import that doesn't even play in my DVD player. But there's absolutely no way that Romero was going to be in this movie.
Surprisingly enough, the kills actually look good. There's some really cool head rips. When a zombie is getting decapitated or just like a person, it looks good.
And around the gore, it's like some of it was good, but the other stuff was just so cheesy that it was also good, so it didn't really matter. Like, we see these couple like trying to bang in their car, which is so funny because this guy's a big Ulysses fan, our hero of the movie. And he's like, hey girl, we just bought some rubbers. Put this mask on or let me bang you in the front seat of this car.
Mask?
Look, I've told you this is too weird.
Please.
First of all, backseat. Second of all, don't do the mask thing. That's fucking weird. Anyway, he gets gobbled up by a bunch of zombies, and his leg is like 10 times the size of a regular leg.
My zombies are hungry. My zombies eat.
I like that this movie was renamed to Zombie Beach Party, but it was clearly the middle of winter.
It's a little cold for that, no?
With this crazy weather, I'm just glad it's sunny. It'll probably be raining frogs tomorrow.
They go to a cottage and it's fucking snowing. A girl's like, oh, I'm just gonna go get a tan on the beach. And she walks down with her blanket and her chair, onto snow, and they just like completely ignored the fact that this is the middle of winter. We also got some gratuitous nudity, and that's always enjoyable. It was kind of in a weird situation, and you weren't really paying attention to most of this movie anyway because this movie was garbage. But there were some boobs.
If I had to choose a favorite character, I really liked Tiki. He was probably like the coolest one. He had like the reptile luchador mask going on. He was doing a lot of the wrestling, which was great. He had a lovely showdown with the Blue Saint fighting next to his van. Plus, he was pretty funny at the end of the movie when he's just like, I got this, you're healed! And you hear the like chime.
Hey, you're free!
They killed the Zombie King, and now he's just like, I think I got this. I can control these zombies, why not? I've done it for 4 that I kept in a U-Haul that I brought to shows as a gimmick. You thought Boogeyman eating worms was crazy? Imagine bringing fucking 4 zombies to a cage match. Would you book this guy?
Yeah, I'd probably book him to build up for a feud against Jump Steady.
Oh, the Evil Dead. That was old school JCW Juggalo Championship Wrestling, which I think they changed to Championship Wrestling because they're like, we want to be like a real thing. And you know, that actually spawned people like Sarah Logan and some like other major wrestlers, which is shocking. Can AEW absorb JCW and we can get more Juggalo action? That would be fucking amazing. Now, what didn't we like? Despite the amount of wrestling, the shot types were shit when people were wrestling because you didn't know what the hell was happening. Sometimes it can work, but most of the time they would like go to do a move and they decided to just like stick the camera in people's like faces or shoulders so you can't see shit, and then they zoom out once the move is completed.
And on top of that, they did way too many cuts. I'm talking jump cuts.
That scoop slam, we got like 10 of them, and that was like supposed to be like a finishing move, by the way.
It's no surprise, like most indie films of this nature, most of the film is just like a rock track.
In the background?
You hear the music throughout everything. Like the first 10 minutes of this film is just a luchador driving in a convertible with no name rock music playing. And like that's what you kind of get in a lot of these films.
They could not have killed Blossom.
There must be other killer zombies in your neck of the woods, Sheriff.
Good Lord.
The ADR work is absolute shit. I read a couple comments on their Wikipedia, which I'm sure the director said like, we did this on purpose. Everybody says that when they have bad ADR.
Well, it seems we found their lair.
Oh boy.
But the lines that are being said are just so bad.
I heard you crippled Cologne in a barbed wire cage.
Word travels fast.
It's in all the dirt sheets.
You shouldn't read those. They'll rot your brain.
Is it true the fire burned down half the tent?
Why don't you let him get inside before you talk his cauliflower ear off?
Sorry.
Jim, the Anvil Neidhart, Blossom, and Cherry, and the Murderizer are really the only 4 characters not wearing masks. Everyone else is wearing a mask in this movie, and you can't see their mouths move. So the fact that the luchadors, whose mouths are covered, have the worst dialogue and ADR, that's bad.
You want to go check it out?
I think that would be informative. Very informative indeed.
And I heard this movie is like a $220,000 budget, which makes no sense to me. We had some cool showdowns, and maybe it's just that I didn't care about them because of the shot types, but it felt like it was lacking action, despite this probably having more action than most movies that we watch. It just didn't feel like it.
It's actually kind of sad, but this film is kind of like Lord of the Rings. It's just a lot of walking. You don't want to watch luchadors following a zombie or driving across the country. We want to see them fight. We got it, but I wanted more of it.
I don't like how much you hyped it up.
I watched this in university. I remember it being a great film. Maybe it's because back then, backyard wrestling was my life, and working for wrestling promotions was like my thing. So it was a lot of me being on the scene and then seeing a movie everyone was hyping up, and you watch it with like a large group of wrestlers and you're like, yeah, this is a fun time. But rewatching it 17 years later, not as good of a time. And I feel bad for hyping it up because
17 years is a long time. That is unfortunate. Like, this has happened back in the day. I think Slashers is probably another notable one that, like, back when you're in your university we watched, and it just isn't the same as back in the day. Like, there's gonna be a lot of movies like that. Once you revisit a classic, you're just like, eh. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. I was fairly excited to watch this movie because John had hyped it up somewhat, and I wasn't that impressed. I do like that there is wrestling involved, and it did have more wrestling than I thought would be involved, to be honest. This did have moves, lots of moves, but the way that they were shot was terrible, and most of the production was really bad, to be honest. It sucks to say for a first-time director and only time director, that last part makes sense now. More wide shots would have really helped. Not like all this close-up stuff, all of the dark night shots just didn't work. I do like the concept, and I think that there were a lot of fun moments to be had because some of the practical effects were pretty solid. Ripping off a bunch of heads, even as cheesy as they were, was fun. But in general, the movie is just not that enjoyable because you don't really care. The acting is really bad. The ADR is awful, on purpose or not. And there's just not a lot to care for. I don't know. Nothing too crazy happened. Just people driving around, walking around, looking for zombies, fighting some zombies. It kind of just ends in a conga line. I didn't really like it, so I'm gonna give this 1 gas station drive-thru order out of 5.
Do you sell cigarettes?
Yes,
Do you sell beer?
we do.
Do you sell jerky?
All 7 kinds.
I remember having a lot of fun watching this movie back in 2003, and I kind of wish it stayed a memory. I'm very disappointed with how this film actually turned out. In my head, it just seemed so much better. I do like that there's wrestlers that are doing wrestling moves against zombies or other wrestlers. That to me is fun. The concept is great. I could live with bad ADR, but like when you want to watch a wrestling match, you don't want to watch quick cuts and tight shots. You want it to be zoomed out and you want it to be on there for a while so you can see and feel the impact of the moves. And this film did not give us that. I did like that we had kills, and this film is very cheesy. And I think if people like zombie movies and they like wrestling, they will have some kind of fun with it. Just don't watch it alone. Watch it with a friend, and with more people, you can have a lot more fun because then everyone's just talking throughout the movie and you're not really watching it. That's a sad thing to say, but it's true.
It's damn true.
So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 1.5 Tyson Dukes taunts out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, links are in the description. And if this is your first time here, don't subscribe to us. Subscribe to Mid-Card Maniacs, our new wrestling channel. Link is in the description. Oh, but you can also subscribe to us, sure.